People, deluded, I'm back again. Now, I'm sure you've all seen the international break. You know, Bukayo Saka became an official England player. Kyle Hine, our keeper, Estonia, he was involved in a comical own goal through, not really his fault, but he had a part to play, even where he made his senior debut, forgive me if I'm wrong. There's been some interesting talking points, but there's not been much to speak about in relation to Arsenal or whatever. We have the transfer news for all clubs. The window's shut. You can still make domestic transfers in the bottom league, well, Championship League and whatnot, but not much has changed. But the Atletico David Ornstein came out today and he's kind of spoken about Mesut Ozil. Now, there's been a lot of rumours coming out in relation to Mesut Ozil that Arsenal save over 100,000 every time he's not in a matchday squad. I get it. Like, I get it from that aspect. I get wanting Ozil off the wage books. I get Ozil not wanting to move. You know, we've been through this and I've made plenty of videos at length. I don't want to go over the same stuff. We're at where we're at. In addition, you've also seen Ozil linked with Fenerbahce over the weekend, and he's also been linked with, is it El Nazar? I can't say it, but he's been linked with them. To which, you know, he said he doesn't want to go. In fact, you've actually seen Juventus apparently working on bringing in Ozil in a free transfer, which, you know, he's not going to. I don't know, because Ozil, I mean, Ramsey's agent managed to do a madness and getting good wages at Juventus. I don't think Ozil is going to get the wages he's on, but he can get closer to Ramsey's. But would you not consider that, you know, lowering your contract by half or just over half or something like that, playing for Juventus in Italy in a culture that would suit him? Pirlo and Ozil are two different players, but, you know, Pirlo being a sort of going against the grain sort of player, you know, sort of cultured, very cultured player. I don't know the words to articulate it, but Ozil be up that. You know, being 31 in Italy isn't a problem. I think Ozil needs to be in a squad as well where, you know, not that he can hide, but, you know, you're not looking at Ozil to pull his socks up and make the difference. You're just looking at him to give you the passes and whatnot. You can bring him off and whatnot. These sort of things. I don't think the Juventus one is legit, but it would make sense. And he's been linked with 3 clubs over the weekend. Clearly in reference to, you know, Ozil, we want to get Ozil off the wage books and whatnot. Ozil said he doesn't want to leave. You know, we've seen reports that the whole business of cancelling his contract is a myth. You know, he wants his 13 million if you want to do that, and it's a myth. Apparently he's hopeful he can get back in the team. How hopeful, I'm not too sure, because yes, in 2.5 months he could be re-registered in the Europa League and or the Premier League, assuming it's officially confirmed he won't be in the Premier League squad when it's lined. I get it, but you'd not be able to play any football. You'd be waiting for the FA Cup, and that's not happening to the turn of the year. Saying that, I'm not too sure with COVID how much that affects it, but typically it's the turn of the year. Obviously, as you lot know, I think it's. Listen, Arteta might have said, Ozil, I don't want to use you, but I genuinely think it's a decision above him, because you don't go from using a man 10 times, you know, to not using him after the restart, you know, especially when you're not bringing in a creative man. You rather rely on Joe Willock, with all due respect to Joe, not trying to scapegoat him, just as a golfing quality, you know. It's an above decision, but at the same time, if Arteta really wanted to use him, you know, I'm sure, if I was a manager and I really wanted to use a player, you know, I'm going to use him, because my job is on the line. If I think this player helps me in my course, I'm going to use him. You're not going to tell me nothing. If you're going to tell me something, you need to bring in a man that's levels or better, or you need to tell me to F off and you're getting rid of my contract, because it's me who's going to get in the firing line from the fans, from the Sky Sports and all of these things. So I need to play who I think is levels. And there's plenty of reasons to believe Arteta believes in Ozil and wants to use him. There's plenty of reasons to believe Arteta believes in him and the board. There's plenty of reasons the board have said both are not involved, or the board have said, listen, Arteta is not involved, we want to save peas. Or Arteta said, I like you, Ozil, but you know what, it's one of them. So we don't know what the possibility is, but Ornstein himself has said we've paid Ozil a loyalty bonus of 8 million at the end of September, which again, maybe we don't want to keep having to pay this guy these clauses. The segment that's only relevant in what Ornstein said is, another element that may have influenced Arsenal's desire to shift Ozil in the summer transfer window is a loyalty bonus amounting to around 8 million that was paid to him at the end of September, and they knew that was coming. You know, Ozil didn't hold a gun to nobody's head. They gave him this contract. They know the clauses. So I can see how it's costly. You're giving a man that's not featured in the league, you're giving him 8 million, you know, 350k a week salary with all different bonuses. And I'm not too sure, because, you know, you're not using Ozil and then you're using him for content. Like, again, if you're freezing a man out, freeze him out properly. And I don't blame the club, because he's still got marketability. But if you're not using him, why are you then bringing out little, you know, feature clips for YouTube or little other things? It's not making sense. You know, I get it that he's marketable. Ozil's got 25 million people on Twitter and whatnot, but he's not part of the club. You know, you don't want him to, he is part of the club in name, but in anything but name, he's not there, in it, sort of thing. You know, why are you using for marketability? Because that because you're already telling people, you know, whether they believe in Ozil or not, you know, Ozil's Arsenal's brand. When you're thinking of Arsenal, you think of Ozil. That's what you're using. That's what you're being told when you're using him on YouTube for YouTube clips, and you're using him for fancy little promotional pieces. You know, that's what you're being told. If you're gonna freeze a man out properly. Now, again, saying that, I get it. You know, Arsenal saying, you know what, there's some use for him. You might as well do up the branding thing. I get it, but it's just, it confuses fans. It really does. So forget the Ozil thing for a minute. And Saliba now. Saliba until the 16th of September. Man said September, it's early October, which is this week. We don't know. At least until January, for 2.5 months, you probably have to, you know, be patient. And forgive me if I'm wrong, he's not been named in the Europa League squad, so he won't be able to play in that. The Carling Cup, fair play, might. The FA Cup is in the turn of the year. He still might go on loan. He's been linked with previously top division clubs. That one's a myth, as you lot know. He's been linked with Brentford, Watford, 2 first choices in my opinion. You know, he's been linked with a whole host of Premier League Championship clubs, and apparently Arsenal are still in talks. But David Ornstein has said, where is it, people? I didn't copy and paste a bit, but he said, he said, although he's been linked with a loan to the Championship ahead of Friday's cut-off, barring a late change of plan, it is understood he'll be with Arsenal until at least the January window. So then, this is what I do. It is concerning, because it does, you know, we said we're bringing him in, and then we said we're loaning man out, and we ain't loaning man out, you know. I'm not saying I don't think he's going to miss a year of football, but for his development, is that the best? But at the same time, you know, I like the fact that, you know, on another hand, one could say it's rushed. You know, we know it only came out fairly recent. The club might have known that, you know, Saliba might not be levels or be able to help Arteta on what he wants to do this year. So it did seem a bit like it would have been rushed loaning him out. And obviously, for someone we spent 30 million on, someone that's earmarked as a future regular for this team in the centre half, in the centre half position, and potentially for his country and got potential, you've got to make the right moves. You can't really rush it and just palm him anywhere. You know, Arsenal don't have the best case studies with loans generally in recent years. You know, there's some success stories, but there isn't too many. You know, we don't have too many players that go out on loan and really excel and come back. There are some, but comparison to other clubs, I think that's one thing. And obviously that might be down to the player, but it's probably down to the club, the philosophy, and just how we're choosing the club. So I like to hear that we're taking our time with him, because I think Watford would have been good. Their training grounds next door. He won't have to move. You know, we can keep more of a regular check. We've got a good relationship with Brentford. You know, they'd be the 2 clubs. You know, I wouldn't mind him going to Swansea. It's a bit of an isolating period for the young Frenchman going to Wales by himself, more or less. But on the field, there's young players. There are some moves, but I didn't want it to be rushed. You know, we hear the paperwork didn't get completed for St Etienne. So is it worth him staying training? You know, under 23s, hopefully occasional games until January, and then you move him back to St Etienne or another top division, or even go back to the Championship? Or you know, in the meantime, these 2.5 months, you really scrutinise and you see where you want him to play football for the half of the season. For me, though, I understand going on loan, people. I wanted him to stay, but I get him going. But for me, if he's going to stay until Jan, unless it's a certified move, like for me, I would ask Mislintat, does he want to take him to Stuttgart? They're in the top division. You know, they've took Mavropanos on loan. I'm not too sure what the rules are, but if there's a possibility, why not? They play a lot of young players. He'd be playing in the top division. You know, there's some good attacking players in the German division. Is what it is. But I think he needs stability, man. I think, you know, again, he could go out on loan and give him game time, but I think the thing should have been, you loan him out this year, he stays on loan. There's no recalling in January. He stays on loan. He comes back next summer, or he stays this season at Arsenal. Now, there's plenty of reason for that and against it. minutes are currency, as I always say. You know, you can train as much. If you're not playing, you're not developing really and truly. So he'd miss out on that prospect. But there is something to be said with being under Arteta, with training and learning and whatnot. There is something, you know, and funny as football is, your chance and opportunities can come in games. You know, Eddie Nketiah's chance, he looked to be going out alone. He trained to a decent standard under Arteta. You know, Arteta gave him his chance, and, you know, I wouldn't say he's done a Marcus Rashford when Rashford was coming up, or Greenwood, but Eddie's shown there's a role here. So maybe similar circumstances. You look at Mustafi, you know, if Chambers never got injured against Chelsea or whoever, would Mustafi have ever had an opportunity to have this resurgence under Arteta? Do you get it? An opportunity came. So again, if some buts, and you don't want to rely on this, you want to go and play football. But if there's a couple injuries at centre half, can he get a look in? You know, especially when we're playing with a back three. You never know, and then he sees it. Because for me, I do think there's case to go out on loan and build on his 32 appearances he's made, because he has had a disruptive second season at St Etienne. I do think there's plenty of reasons for him to learn on the job and fail fast. He will have tough times. He will get his positioning will be poor. He will get outstrengthed. You know, he will try and rely on his pace and it won't work. He will dive in. You know, he's not going to be the finished article at 19, 20. Well, not even 20, 19. He's not. He's going to be rough around several edges, and it's about teaching him and learning. And I would really love Arteta to keep him here and learn and develop. But I do see, if we can farm him to somewhere in the Championship, you know, Brentford and Watford, that play a similar style or play out from the back, you know, very good technical based players. Well, Watford don't really play out from the back, but more so Brentford. You know, a solid year of experience playing in the Championship, you know, with that sort of thing, it could be a benefit to him. I want him to stay, you know, I'm not going to lie, but I think the best decision based on what is being said is, you know, he should go out on loan, because I don't think Arteta's going to say that for no reason, so, really and truly. I just hope it's not a wasted season for him, and I hope it's a season for development. But I do think, regardless, it will be a great season for Saliba mentally. He will learn a lot. He will learn a lot mentally, and again, he's only 19. You don't need to be the finished article. You know, if he could go get, in an ideal world, he's loaned out back to St Etienne. He gets 30 odd league appearances and whatnot. That now his senior appearances is touching 60, closer to 100 career appearances. People, you know, we wanted him to come with just a bit more confident. Is it a mental thing? Is he lacking a bit of confidence with the way he plays? And that might be what tips Arteta to say you need to go out on loan. Is he there? Because there's a lot of psychological factors you and I and a lot of people don't consider, because we're not there. You know, we don't know Saliba. We hear about his personality and whatnot, and we know we can put a name to a face, but we don't know him. We know Saliba, we don't know William, you know. Do you get it? You don't know William. We don't know. We always call players last names. Do you get it? It's like with Ozil in the beginning of this. We know Ozil, we don't know Messi. Do you get it? We don't know man personally. We don't know if he's a shy guy, if he's an outgoing guy and whatnot. And these things can have factors, you know. If he's a shy guy, I can see why Arteta might be half-hearted, because he's a bit scared, he's playing it safe, he's doing this and that. He's not going to excel. I believe in Arteta. Again, my personal preference is Saliba learns on the job. He fails fast. You know, he's thrown in at the deep end. Obviously, with lifeguards and what are the things called that you put around your arm when you're swimming? You can't swim. What them things called again, people? Armbands. You know, you throw him in the deep end, but you give him some armbands. The armbands being David Luiz, a senior member, or a back three to protect him, or a certain sort of system, or a certain sort of game. But you know, you're only gonna grow when you're under pressure. You know, and that's what he needs. He needs to be terrorized. I always say, I implore everybody, if you want to learn about Saliba, go and watch last season versus Mets, where Diallo tore him a new one. You know. I want to see how Saliba is. I've seen it, but you know, you've got to see how he is in away games, how he reacts from a mistake. You know, if he tries to play out from the back, it's an underhit pass and it's an own goal. How does he react to that? You know, not to big myself up, but yesterday, people, cup game, I conceded the penalty. I know you shouldn't slide in the box. I know you shouldn't dive in, but I did it anyways. Brain fart, people, moving like Sergio Aurier, conceded a pen. You know. In the heat of it, I was feeling sorry for myself. There's a 10-minute passage where the touch was poor, but when the mistake was made, I went, lads, I'm captain, my bad, my fault. I got going, I kept going, and you know, I had the last laugh. It's not always going to happen, but my team won. Better than that, 5 minutes from time in a cup game where it's going straight to penalties. Who do you think scored? Who do you think scored, people? Mr. Captain Fantastic. Black Sergio Ramos, me. But I got swarmed and whatnot. But obviously I had to plug myself. Obviously, you know, Arteta, I think I could be Arsenal's captain. But on a serious note, it's how you react to mistakes, because it's all going great. Anyone can play well when when everything's going right. It's when it's going wrong. You know, and that's what Saliba's got to do. You know, there's a lot of hype around Saliba. That's why I don't mind him getting more experience. As much as I wanted to come last season, staying at St Etienne on loan, because there's a lot of hype. It's a bit like Reece Nelson. People billing up that young man as the next this, that and the other in the academy. You know, I was watching his Hoffenheim loan. You know, there was sometimes he scored, he played crap. Sometimes he played crap and he scored, he played crap. Sometimes he played well and didn't score. His performance did fluctuate. You know, it's probably a 6s out of 10s, 5s and 6s with a couple of 7s and a couple of 3s. But people were just seeing these 30-second clips of him scoring and saying this, that and the other. Now you've put him on a false ladder because you're being lazy. And now he's come to Arsenal. You're shocked that he's not of the level you said when he's still developing. You know, the perception needs not... Don't use your perception of a player and the man you think they can be tomorrow to take away from what they are today. You know, Saliba's going to be a bad boy defender. He's not that. Gabriel's going to be a quality defender. Right now, he's on his way to being a quality defender, but he's still rough around edges. He's a good defender. He's en route to being a quality defender. And it's about, you know, them developing, them learning, them, you know, staying clear of injuries. But it's also about Arteta. And I'm not going to lie, major part of this job is developing players, and I think Arteta's done it. That's why I'm looking to see what you could do with, maybe not so much Saliba, because whether he goes on loan, we'll have to talk. But Gabriel, you know, can you make him come up heaps and bounds this season? You know, one bad thing I've seen in Gabriel's game, for instance, he loves that little underhit pass. You know, David Luiz almost got a red card against Sheffield for that. It's happened against Fulham. One day, that's gonna harm Arsenal. Can you immediately identify that and rectify it? Only time will tell, and only Arteta can tell you that. But in relation to Ozil and Saliba, that's all that there is in relation to Arsenal, people. I do think Arsene Wenger's released his latest book as well. But on that note, people, it's always a pleasure. DG.